an opportunity to review this later on. I think it's great and helpful to review it as you go back and you sit for your defense, to go back and to see how the committee system works, to see kind of the interactions. And it's always nice to go back and look at yourself, but to see what you can do differently. But it also gives you a chance to put this in your archives of successful milestones that you've accomplished. So we will go ahead and get started. I do have it recording. Okay. I do want to thank you.
You're fine, Dr. Maxine. She's checked. It wasn't hyperlink, but she's getting on right now.
Okay. All right. I know Melissa is very excited to be joining us.
You send it or check? Okay. Is it, you send it in an email, Myers, or
yes.
Go to
your email.
Okay. It hadn't come yet.
All right, Melissa, I am recording, so you need to be
Oh,
bowing us over
Myers,
with
hyperlink, open Zoom meeting, launch meeting.
launch meeting.
Yeah, you're good.
Here she is. There she is.
You just let me in?
Yeah, you can get in now. You're in now, Dr. Mack. I'm finna hang up.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Dr. Mack Foxworth, we're glad you are here as well. It's nice to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about you.
Awesome.
I am Steve Stone. I'm the dissertation chair for Melissa, and representing Gardner-Webb, I want to thank you very much for your willingness to serve. As I've said this before, Gardner-Webb's success with our dissertation students or our doctoral students relies heavily on those of you in the community who will invest time and energy into Melissa and other candidates, and you certainly have done that. So I want to thank you from Gardner-Webb, but I also want to thank you for myself. And I am sure Melissa is going to come in and say thank you as well. I'd be highly disappointed as her coach if she did not do that. But thank you from Gardner-Webb. I am recording, and the format will be like this. Melissa is going to do her presentation, and at the end of that, she'll tell us how she wants to ask questions. And at the end of that, we will go into a breakout room. That will be Dr. Newell, Dr. Mack Foxworth. We'll go into a breakout room with me, and then we'll talk some more. And then we'll come out of that and let Melissa know what our decision is. So I'll turn it over at this point too. And by the way, I will also stop recording when we go into that breakout session. So our conference will be confidential. So with that said, welcome everybody. I hope COVID's keeping you busy, but you're keeping you safe. So I will turn it over to Melissa. You can start sharing, Melissa.
Well, good afternoon. I was going to say good morning till he said good afternoon, so I remember. Good afternoon, everybody. I really do appreciate y'all being here today. I know all of you are very busy, and so I do appreciate you taking this time out. I also want to thank you for the feedback you have provided me to help me improve my writing, as well as give me ideas on how to do better, because I'm trying to get through this process. I've learned it's been a struggle, but again, thank you so much. So I am going to present, so give me a couple minutes, figure out how to do this again. Do y'all see it? Okay, perfect. Now I gotta find what I'm looking for. Here we go. So my presentation, I should say the presentation today is on my dissertation, which is pretty much experience and perceptions of harassment, victimization of our LGBTQ students, which is the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer and questioning youth in South Carolina schools. One of the problems I noticed that they were having, or based on the research that I'm going back too fast, based on the research that I had, is that a lot of students, according to a Glenstein study, which is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, they do a study every 2 years. And the one I found was in 2017 about the school climate and safety of our LGBTQ youth. They sent the survey to all 50 states, the District of Columbia, as well as 5 different U.S. territories. And they received, had a 94% return rate. So about 23,000 students actually completed the survey and sent it back. And those are some of the things that they experienced that they said that was unsafe unsafe. They experienced the harassment. They felt like they weren't supported, and the lack of school inclusive curriculum and discriminatory comments. We have data for each of those as well. For example, the data stated for students, I just want to hit on a couple of points. Over 16,000 students, and those are the percentages, actually experienced verbal harassment and avoiding extracurricular activities. And of those 2,300 students, over 17 actually avoided school functions altogether based on, I think, their perceived their sexual orientation as well as their gender expression, whether it was perceived or their actual. Another interesting thing I discovered was that 41% of them felt like they were more disciplined due to public displays of affection more than their heterosexual peers. So they felt like they experienced more harassment. They were discriminated more for discipline. 29% of them said that they weren't able to choose the name. Some of them had a different name and they had to use a name that was actually on their birth certificate instead of what they felt like they should be called as. 1 to 3 of them decided that they weren't able to use the restrooms that they need to use based on their perceived gender, not what they actually were. And then some of them also said that in schools they were unable to form support systems like gay straight alliances and things like that. So that was the support. They also did a study as far as whether the effects of the victimization based on the things that they had to deal with and while they were in school or on their way to school or coming home from school. A lot of them said that they missed at least a day or more of school. It affected their academics. It affected their emotional well-being. As you can see from this data, more than 2 times as many LGBT students missed school. They had no plans to attend a post-secondary education at college or university.
Melissa,
And
can I make a real quick point right here, and maybe it can get you to thinking down the road. I understand these statistics, and I've seen statistics for our LGBTQ students. The one that really surprised me, and I'm glad you included it, was the second one, because as much as, high school is hard, middle school is hard for all kids, but for LGBTQ students, it's much harder. But this really does surprise me that to a larger degree, they don't intend to go to college, because that looks to me like it kind of flies in the reasons that we keep telling students is that it gets better, and that college, when you get away, people don't act like high school kids. They grow up, they act better. Mm-hmm. So perhaps that's something that you'll uncover in your discussions is, why is it almost double that they don't want to go to college? Because it looks to me like college or university would be a chance for them to get more, to be around more like-minded people. It'd be a chance to be, I don't know, to kind of get away from that pettiness of high school and middle school. Just a thought. You don't need to respond.
And I did forget to say this. Please don't hold off your questions until the end. If you have them, pop them out, because it gets me thinking, and Dr. Stone is writing them down for me. So please don't hold off those. As I was saying, I agree with that. It caught me off guard that 2% of them, they were 2 times higher. Especially, like I said, it gets better in college, I would hope. And then based on this data, it shows that they are more depressed and they had a lower GPA. It wasn't that much lower, but it is lower. And so that, bothered me a little. The CDC, which is the Centers of Disease Control, actually does another youth survey, but theirs mostly focused on youth risk and the kind of risks that they are having and what's the trend in that risk. Is it increasing or decreasing throughout the year? So in 2018, they did their report and found out that our LGBT students are more than doubled as far as effects of dealing with electronic bullying, attempting suicide. They're being threatened by weapons more. They miss school. And what's interesting is it was more than tripled those that actually considered it. And it, as well as when they did it and it had a suicide attempt, they needed medical treatment. So this has really affected them a lot, much more than their heterosexual peers. The district and school missions, many district and school missions create their missions and their vision statements are created to include safe and inclusive environments. Most of them are all about, you know, we want safe, inclusive environment, not just for the students, but the employees as well. But based on this data that I have shown you, it seems as if it's not safe for all students. It's not inclusive for all students. It was saying that more than 44%, like I said, of LGBT students are disciplined compared to the 26% of their heterosexual peers who deal with the same situation. So they are getting disciplined for things like showing PDA or anything like that more than their heterosexual peers. And of the survey that Glenson did, they said 75% of them experience discriminatory school policies and district policies. There are no federal laws right now that directly address bullying. Of course, we have the civil rights law that deals with discriminatory harassment and things like that, but actually address bullying, which we know is a repeated offense, a repeated action of harassing a student or a person. South Carolina did pass a Safe School Climate Act in 2006, which requires us to develop policies for prohibiting harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and teachers are getting trained on, and administrators are getting trained on the process of reporting, documenting bullying incidences. And then we also have the U.S. Justice Department. They give guidelines to help boards and schools determine if their policies protect LGBTQ students. So it's like just a test for them to go by. Some of the things that encourages positive experiences based on the Glenson study and the students that answered the survey, they said they felt safe with gay straight alliances and felt like there were safe spaces, and safe spaces were places where they could go, where there was an adult that actually supported that, and it would say something on their door that says safe spaces or a safe adult, where they could go and talk to somebody about their issues. They heard about other topics, non-heterosexual topics and issues in their classes, and that the school culture encouraged diversity and acceptance. So the purpose of my study is just to learn from this situation. What do they need to improve their experiences? What if by chance are the graduates during this time and during this year, because that was in 2017 and I did find a study in 2019, but our current graduates, are they still experiencing this victimization and discrimination? Is the percentage as high as it used to be? And what do we need to do extra that will help them feel protected and supported? My theoretical framework is going to deal with the resilience theory, which pretty much gives us a way to figure out how do they adapt to conflict and how they use that to focus on the strengths instead of their weaknesses. You know, some people overcome these risks and grow up to be healthy adults. So what are they doing what are the strategies they're doing? What are their coping mechanisms to help them be resilient through their high school careers and get through their high school and have a healthy academic, social, and emotional life. It also talks about the heteronormativity, or in some places I'm gonna say heterosexism, which pretty much said heterosexual is the be-all, end-all. It came about during the common school movement of the 19th century, which pretty much was ran by the males, and he said that heterosexual was the be all. It was, you know, males were males, females were females. You know, your gender was based on your sexual orientation, not orientation, your sexual organs at the time that you were born. And that, you know, there was no other, you know, there was no other, I guess, life but heterosexual. Some of their high school experiences we've discussed already, but here are a couple of more data. I just want to let you know that their high school experiences, as we have seen in the data, can affect their social and emotional lives. It can affect their academic lives. And we need to figure out what they need to do. I mean, it says 69% of them felt unsafe because of their perceived or their actual sexual orientation or gender expression. Even though 86% of the surveys, people that did the survey for Glenson felt that they were harassed for whatever reason. It could have been socioeconomic, it could be religion, it could be racial. It was 69% of those students who were LGBTQ2 felt unsafe because of their sexual orientation. They also felt like the staff didn't always address the homophobic behaviors that were going on in the classroom, in the hallways, any comments that were heard. They did admit that 14% of the staff always, 14% of them said that staff always, intervened, but majority of them don't. And it was interesting to know that they actually heard the staff saying, making homophobic comments or jokes and things like that. But they did say that it wasn't toward the students, it was just comments they were making with each other, which also made them feel like they weren't as important or there was something wrong with them. District school and policies, as I said before, the curriculum lacks non-heterosexual events. Most of the people portrayed are heterosexual situations. The students are, the males, they say males are portrayed as being aggressive, competitive. Females are considered the homemakers. They would like to see more about their own race. They would like to see more non-traditional relationships, more non-traditional things going on. Like to hear more about the LGBT artists, authors, and things like that. They also discussed that there are things going on in the schools, which at the time I didn't think, but they are anti-LGBTQ. They were talking about the Mr. and Mrs. Pageants, where the queens are actual females and the kings are actually males. Homecoming, king and queens. They were just things like that, where everything was either male or female. They brought up the yearbook and how there are times where there's a best couple, and usually the best couple is a male and a female, and not two females or two males. They thought that was interesting. They talked about, some of them brought up their dress outfits and the things that they couldn't present, and then things that they had to do for like best couple, like going to dances. The couples at one point in time used to have to be male or female. If you went with the female and of your same sex, you had to be with, it was more as going as a friend and not as a couple. You couldn't buy a couple ticket. As far as academic achievement and well-being, as I said before, we have noticed from the data that the school victimization can hurt people's academic achievement and their education goals, especially if students are missing more school. If they're missing more school, they're getting behind on their academics, and therefore that can reduce their GPA because they feel unsafe. It also hurts their self-esteem because, some of them can't cope, some of them can't deal with the harassment, someone doesn't, and most of them don't have people to talk to. So they deal in different type of coping mechanisms. One of those things is the support groups like the GSA and the SAFE systems. Some of them say they actually blend in, which is a coping mechanism that just pretty much says, I'm gonna hide who I really am. I'm gonna be what you think I'm supposed to be. I'm gonna act the way you want me to act. or the way you think I should act, and when I go home, I'll be different. And then some of them completely do isolation. They're separated, which means they just don't blend in at all. They just stay alone. They don't join any groups. They don't go into any activities. It's just school for classroom. They probably don't participate in class, and then they just go home. So they don't do anything.
Ms. Myers, may I ask you a question? When you talk about the LGBT group, like in terms of schools now, you always have groups of groups of students to go together. Like you said, you don't have to be male, female. You can just buy couple tickets or friends or things of that nature. Is this the group? How do you determine in your data, in your research, those kids who really are, if they're same sex and they're same sex, how do you say that they're not allowed to, how will you research or show that those who really do go with same sex couple, if that's what they want, as opposed to those who feel like they can't do that in South Carolina high schools?
I hope.
Or just put that question down.
That is going to be part of the question in the questionnaire as well. Unfortunately, I can't really, my survey is going to be only on LGBTQ students and what their experiences are. But the data that I'm giving you right now was based on the Glenson study and the things that they specifically said in their survey. And
that was 2017?
Yes, that was 2017. There was another study in 2019, but it was, the numbers are dropping, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this now, because I noticed in 2017 study, they were up here, but in 2019, they're slowly decreasing. So I'm hoping that it still decreases.
Thank you.
Okay. My questions to ponder these are not my research questions. These are just things that were in my head and it's currently based on the recent graduates that we have right now. What interactions did they have in high school with their peers, with their staff and their administrators? Is this still going on? And if it is, how much? What did they have? Did they feel safe? Did they do they have the same experiences? And if they have the same experiences, what recommendations do they have to help other students so that we can make sure that we do create a supportive environment for our future generation? My central question is, like I said before, are the recent graduates between 18 and 21 experiencing high levels of homophobic? And the reason I say 18 and 21 is because the Glenson study ended in 2019. So I added like 3 more years and said, okay, mine's about right now, should be about 18, 21, which we could cover some of those in the 2019 era plus more. And if they experienced that, what levels or didn't experience that, what level of supports did they see existed, and what do they still think we need to do? My research questions are what are their experiences with harassment and discrimination while they were attending high school? What policies and practices affected their high school experiences? And what did they felt they need to support what support they need from high school students, their staff, and the administrators?
Melissa, can I just ask a quick question? With those research questions, which thank you for adjusting a little bit of what we talked about as well in the feedback. Are you hoping that your research questions will either support, like either confirm or refute the Glenn study? Like, is that kind of the basis of your vision?
I'm really hoping it will refute the Glenn study. And that's only based on, I'm gonna be honest with you, what I see going on in my school. But I can only say what my school is, and I'm doing the entire school. I'm hoping it is better. I really do hope it's better and that we're moving forward in a positive manner. But
no, I think that's great to, to call attention to, like that. I'm glad to see that you want it to go better. Like I kind of, at first when I was reading, I thought that you were looking for only the negative experiences. So I'm glad you adjusted that question a little bit to be like the impact of, because I think by turning it to the impact, you'll be able to see some more of what you're talking about here, where like there are maybe some positive changes that are happening.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So my methodology, and Dr. Mack knows me very well. I am a quantitative, 100% quantitative person, so I am going out of my comfort zone. But it will be a qualitative phenomenological study, and phenomenological because I'm actually having students to describe their beliefs, their experiences, and things like that. So that leans more towards qualitative and getting that information rather than quantitative information. I will have the basic background information, the background, the race and the age and things like that, but this is more of a qualitative to get their descriptions to get better. It is going to be an online survey. So Dr. Newell, I did update that because I thought I got rid of interviews. It's 100% online survey. There will be multiple choice, which means because that's the background, and then the rest of the survey will be open-ended questionnaire. It's going to be a convenience and snowballing sampling, pretty much convenience because as people that I know, and I'm going to talk to people that I know to give me some recommendations. And if the students are able to give me other recommendations, that's where the snowballing comes in. I'm getting my sample from people who give me, this is somebody who'll be willing to do your survey. Hopefully I can get 15 participants, although Phenomenology Study says I only really need 10. It is definitely voluntary. It's a digital recording process because everything's it's an online survey. Some friends of mine told me about a transcribing responses and identifying themes, so I can type that into an electronic Timmy. Timmy is an electronic program, and then DeVos will actually code it for me to get responses, and hopefully that works. And that's Dr. Newell. I'll be calling you on that as well.
Definitely, I'll help you with any of that. I applaud you for going in the qualitative route. I think that that's what is going to give you the results in this research that you need. The one question I wanted to say with your convenience, when you're saying having 15 participants in this type of study, do you have a citation? I can't remember, I'll be honest. Did you include a citation of where the number 10 was referenced?
Okay, I'm confused at what you're asking. I'm
So like
sorry.
you said that you had to have 10 participants. You were
Yes, I did include a citation in my chapter 3. Yeah.
perfect. Just wanted to make sure. And like I said, I know that you were making some adjustments and stuff. I just want to make sure.
Okay. The participants, it says between 10 and 15, ages 18 to 29. As I said before, it's going to be a convenience or a snowballing sample. They will be self-selected and they're self-identified as LGBTQ, not perceived. They're actually identified themselves as that, and they graduated from a South Carolina high school.
And Melissa, you are not going to in any way try to break down the L, the G, the BT. It's just as long as that broad category of LGBT. So your data will not say this is how lesbians feel, this is how transgender, because you wouldn't have enough if you only had 10.
Exactly. Yeah. No. It's going to be the group category, the whole category. I will not select. They would not be selected if they're currently in high school. They're currently in treatment because then that was skewed data completely. Have diagnosed with a psychotic or a bipolar disorder, self-identified as suicidal or homicidal, and presently experiencing a severe anxiety or depression. I have an online survey that I have been working on that I hope y'all can see it. If not, let me know. Why is it taking so long? Okay. Trying to see if y'all can get to it. Otherwise, I'm gonna close my screen up. I do have one though.
I think your screen is frozen.
Yeah, I see it now. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna pull up my survey. It's linked to my document, but it's not showing up on my presentation. So let me pull it up real quick for y'all to see. Are y'all able to see that?
You're not sharing.
I'm not sure. What about now? Okay. So here, some of my questions. Of course, I said there's going to be background information, male, female, what, you know.
Melissa, just making a note of something that I think you and I'll need to add. We probably need to add a 5th background question.
Okay.
In your excluding of students, and this is something I didn't think of earlier, I'm sorry. In your excluding of students, I don't know how we can gracefully find out whether or not they're psychotic or bipolar.
Okay.
We want to have an option for them to, I mean, I don't know. I just think if we're going to exclude them, we probably ought to have some way to show that we have made a good modified effort. Does any of the committee, do you have any suggestions for that, Dr. Max Fort Worth or Dr. Newell? A 5th question, maybe addressing some of those things.
Yeah, I like what you're thinking, Dr. Stone. I think a 5th question would seem the best way to go about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. If y'all have a way to say that in a decent way, let me know. You know,
yeah.
Correct way, politically correct way.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's probably a question you can add.
Okay.
You can get from here, from Miss Reese.
Okay.
I was going to say something just like in the order of other conditions to consider.
Here's the school practices. Pretty much is about what actually they felt uncomfortable about while in school. Any type of experiences or activities they have participated in, their assignments, and then the school rules. That's the first section.
And that addresses research question 2, right?
Right. Yes. Research question 1: experiences with the peers. And so these are their, you know, what they had to deal with, what they heard, what students did, things they saw when they were at events, just to make them feel uncomfortable and felt like they weren't part of the community. And then the school staff also addresses research question number 1. This is their experiences, again, what they saw school staff do, say, as well as administrators. And then their coping mechanisms. This is what my question 3 is getting information from. They're actually giving me I'm asking them how did they cope, who helped them, what did the staff do, what did they say to make them feel supported and comfortable, what things do they think the schools are lacking that they may need, what changes would they like to see in public education as far as, you know, I guess the curriculum. And then, of course, I wanted to talk about the academics and see if the things that they dealt with affect their academics. So how did the harassment, the discrimination, and their perceptions affect their academics and their decision to maybe continue education or not continue after high school? So that's that. I'm gonna go back to my presentation.
Melissa, before you get off the survey, you said that I'm glad that you clarified, you're doing just the survey now. So we're taking the interview out of it, right?
Taking the interview out.
So then I wonder if, since you won't be interacting with the people in the survey, if it would be worth adding a final question to each of those sections that would say, if you did not have a negative experience,
okay,
why not? Or what were your experiences like? Because I feel like all the questions only ask them about their negative experiences.
Okay.
Going back to what you said before, and you wanted to see if there was change, I think you want to give them a chance to talk about positive experiences as well.
Okay, got you. That's good point. Thank you.
Okay. And then I like, for me, I think, and this goes to any of you, because you need 10 to 15 participants from that category, how are we going to make sure, is your research that all 10 or 15 aren't in the same school, graduated the same school or the school district? Are we looking to get 10 or 15 from different districts in the state of South Carolina who graduated, so that it could be the perception of if they're all from the same district or school, then that's really just that school, versus are we looking to see if they're making changes across South Carolina districts? So what, can you explain that for me?
Right, I am going across districts. I'm not just doing this district. I have, I'm gonna be honest, contacted people, friends from different districts that I know are at, to let them know that I'm doing this survey and that I might need students. I'm not just doing one district, because like I said,
because you probably could get 10. You know, 10
I could get 10
from our school.
from
You
my
probably
school,
could get,
exactly.
yes. I just want
And I just don't want to talk about our school, because I think that will also skew the data. And I'm talking about South Carolina whole. So I want to get, part of me is wondering, and that this is just a question, if that should be a question. I don't want to know what district they're from, but I need to make sure they're not from just one district.
One district, yes.
And I think if you're making assumptions to South Carolina, you need to make sure they are not from another state, because at the end, when you're going to make those assumptions about South Carolina data, South Carolina progression, you might want to make sure they are South Carolina students, and or former students. I don't know if that's something you need to put back in your survey question, but I'm like you, Dr. Max Foxworth. I don't think you should limit it to just one. I think that's what you're saying. I don't think you should limit it to just one district, because your study is South Carolina, and you've given us South Carolina data. You've given us American or U.S. data. So I think as inclusive as you can go. And the last thing I'll make a point, Melissa, is that I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that there is a branch of the South Carolina LGBTQ community that, there's probably some resource out there that you could get on you could probably solicit to help you get beyond the little small counties or the counties that you know. Unless your connection is fully all of South Carolina, you might want to reach out to find out if there is a statewide organization of LGBTQ safe schools. Someone in the State Department would probably have some guidance for you there. So that way you really are getting down to the upland, getting down to, what do they call the coastal? South Carolina's in 3 parts. Oh, the upcountry, the
Midlands, low country, Midlands, and upstate.
Yeah,
upstate,
all three sections.
Upstate, lower state.
Yeah.
Lower state. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank y'all for those comments. I appreciate that, and suggestions. I will do that. Trying to find my presentation.
I like your survey. I think it's going to be, I hope that the students or the former students will spend a lot of time and you get a lot of good data from it. It's 20 questions, so it's going to be a lot for them to do. And this generation of 21-year-olds are not the type that like to sit and write complete sentences. So you might want to be willing to take whatever they give you.
Yes, I will be able to. I'm going to do that. I've dealt with my experiences of trying to write in math classes. So my limitations are, that it is a small sample. It's only 10 to 15 participants.
Melissa, do you want to go back to your PowerPoint?
Oh, I'm not back? Oh,
No,
I thought I could see. Okay, let me try one more time. Hold on. I can get to my.
You probably need to close out your survey. You're still presenting your survey.
Okay, got you. Okay, there we go. Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. So the limitations are, as I was saying, that it's a small sample. It's 10 to 15 participants. So that could, although I said phenomenology study is qualitative, I'm only limited it to 15. And I'm pretty sure based on even the Glenson study, there was 23,000 LGBTQ students. So I cannot, say that I'm doing is for the entire LGBTQ community. It will only include their individual experiences. Again, it's only based on those 10 to 15, they are all from South Carolina. They at least went to a South Carolina high school. But again, it's only based on their particular experiences and not some of those that I may not get all that have positive, or I may get all positive and none negative. So I can only base my survey on what I'm getting from that data. And again, as I said before, and because of that is what they see. So my data is based on what they're seeing. My results and my findings will be based on what they see, their views, and their specifics. So it's only limited to that group of 10 to 15 participants. Some of the delimitations are, I'm specifically focusing on the LGBTQ community. I'm not in high school graduates. I'm not saying that, it's not saying that there didn't have other people didn't experience harassment and didn't experience discrimination, but right now I'm only focusing on that community. You know, so that's the thing. I'm only focusing on students in South Carolina. I was looking at the other data, and numbers are different from different states. Like the CDC did South Carolina, they did other states. Our numbers are different, so I'm only focusing on South Carolina. The students are self-selected. There may be LGBT students that didn't want to do the survey. They don't feel comfortable speaking their, you know, putting their information on their positive or negative. So I'm only getting those that, I'm only getting the opinions of those who are willing to voice their views. And some may be more boisterous than others. And then, as I said before, the sample size doesn't represent all LGBTQ students' experiences in the United States. My timeline in January, research online tools, which is what I've been doing recently, which is why I was able and create the actual online survey. I want to do a pilot step survey as well, mostly to get I'm gonna get some teachers as well as some other students that are not part of the community, just to be able to read the questions and make sure that the questions make sense and that the students will be able to answer them because it's an online survey. And so I don't get answers that actually answer the questions. And then this is the month I will also seek IRB approval. In February, I will work on selecting the participants for the study and sending them the consent forms in the online survey, where I'm actually gathering the data at that time and getting my surveys answered. In March, I compile the findings and do my final chapters and get those results. And then in April, I hope to defend and share the results with the university, the school district and school leaders, and the broad population.
And actually, so we're going to do all those April things in March.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Stone. See, so there we go. Well,
yeah, because by April 1, we need you to graduate. And
okay, gotcha.
Do all this by April 1. Wait, I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha. No problem. That's my goal. I'll get it all done in April before my birthday. In March. And that's it. Any questions, comments? I do appreciate the questions that you gave throughout the study, throughout the presentation. It got me to think, and thanking that Dr. Stone recorded it. So I appreciate that.
Quick question. Is this going to be an anonymous survey?
Yes.
Okay, so on your survey, you need to remove that signature stuff at the top. If it's an anonymous survey, we don't need that.
So how do I make sure that if they're completing the survey, that's the consent? That's the only thing I was worried about.
I think you would have a statement about I give consent.
Okay.
But I think if you're going to do an anonymous survey, which is kind of what I would think would be, I mean, some people obviously would sign it, would love to know it, but that's not important to our study.
Right, no, okay. That's the only part I was worried about, is trying to get the consent. And as long as, I guess if that's on the survey, then I'm good to go.
Put it up at the top.
Okay.
All right, any questions for Melissa before we go into our breakout session?
No, I have a question, but am I allowed to make a comment to her?
You may. Are you going to get
I do. I think this is such a vital part of speaking as a school administrator and school leader, and we think about the workforce and the profile of a South Carolina graduate, and like how we want all of our students to be successful, because their success leads to being better citizens. We want the United States to still flourish. So helping school administrators reach out to population of kids to put things in place to help them be successful just does so much, not only for the school, but for our society. So I think this is a worthy dissertation topic.
Thank you, Dr. Meg.
I don't know if I wasn't supposed to say any of that.
And can I add something to that as well? Having served as a superintendent in a district of about 13,000 students, we had LGBTQ student groups, and the most appalling meeting I have ever had to conduct was a work session with the Board of Education when we were talking about a complaint that came about an LGBT club. And to hear, we had a packed room, and to hear about 15 or 20 students who share the experience that they experienced in my school really tore me to the heart and tore my board members to the heart. So I applaud, I mean, any more education we can have about any of our students that come through our doors, we need to be more empowered with. So an excellent observation, Dr. Max Foxworth, excuse me. All right, Melissa, we're going to excuse you, and I am going to try this. So please don't go anywhere, Dr. Max Foxworth, because I'm going to try to do a breakout room. And I am not the best with this. I'm going to create a room, and I am going to add a room, and I'm going to assign. Okay, I'm going to assign. Okay, try that again. I'm going to move you to room 2. I'm going to move you to room 2. And then how do I move myself? I'm going to join room 2. Hey, look!
You did it!
All right, I'm gonna pause. Ah, okay. There we go. All right, I have started recording again, and so Melissa, I want to tell you that my perspective, and I'll give the committee a chance to say this as well. We feel very good, or I feel very good about where you're going. I look forward to getting your research. I don't think it's going to be an easy trip, because I think LGBTQ students are probably going to be, we'll talk about it, but there may be, I mean, you're reaching out to a group that has historically probably only responded back to, well, we'll talk about it. But I wish you well, but I think you've got a very worthwhile study. And so I'm ready for you to move forward, and I'll leave it up to the committee to say anything, but you stick around, because you and I are talking after this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's second what Dr. Stone said, Melissa. I do want you to know that the background to the problem, you did a tremendous job in your writing of developing that background to the problem. So that was great. I think your theory is a well-chosen one. So I really hope that you can hone in on that resilience piece as you get that survey data back. I think if you can get participation in this, you're going to have some great information. So,
I think I probably already kind of misstepped and went out of order. I told you I think this is such a worthy dissertation topic, and I think about as educational leaders, anything that we can do, an effort for continuous improvement to make it better for kids. That's what we need to know as educational leaders. And it was important to me that to make sure you're looking at a group of participants across the state of South Carolina and not get a skewed value of perhaps District Richland 2 or Ridgeview. And so it's important to see, in order to make it better, we need to know what this particular population is experiencing in our entire state. And so kudos to you for taking on such a tough topic.
And I can tell you, I've been at Gardner-Webb for 2.5 years, and I've never seen this topic or anything close to this topic. So kudos to you for being outside of our box.
Look, I admired you. I stuck to math.
yeah, when she first brought it up, she's like, "Do you think I could?" I'm like, "Well, let's see. Let's go with it."
I want to thank you again, Dr. Mac Foxworth. I want to thank you, Dr. Newell. I hope you have a great week, the rest of it, and it's a pleasure. Thank you from Gardner-Webb.
Thank
you so much.
Bye-bye. Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Melissa, well done.
That was, okay, I feel better.
Yeah, that was well done. So I took notes, on my
Okay.
little sheet. So I'm going to send these over to you
Okay.
through an email. But and I'm also going to send the forms out for signatures to the 2 committee members. So I'll be doing that. But the only things that came up, really the only thing that came in the closed session was that we want you to add to your limitations
Okay.
a statement about understanding that this population may want to vent. And so you're going to try, and so that may skew your data that this is this could be a population that has been discriminated against, a population that feels like they want to tell their story. And we can work on it, but it's basically added to the limitations that this group, we recognize that this group has been marginalized and we don't want to just get angry responses. So that may be what we get. We may get people who want to tell their story because they're angry versus people sometimes who want to tell their story because they want to celebrate as well.
Okay.
All right, so we'll talk, that goes into limitations. I did not understand the question from the principal about how to differentiate the 2 groups of students. So she did not mention it again, so I don't think that's important.
Okay.
So I'm going to take that off. You are going to make those changes to the survey
Yes.
about positive experiences as well as anything else. And I think that's it.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to send you have my CITI certificate. So at this point, what you need to do is start working on make this real quick little change, and I'm going to send you my notes. Then start us working on that IRB.
Okay. I'll start doing
You got
that.
to make changes to the survey as well.
I'm gonna try to give you everything on Saturday as much as I can.
That'll
Definitely the IRB's happening on Saturday.
be awesome. But
Okay.
you have to attach the survey to the IRB application too. So
Okay. Gotcha.
And it's
Okay.
a small change. Send everything to me before you send it out then.
Okay. Perfect.
Well done.
Thank you, Dr. Stone. Have a wonderful week.
You too. Take care.
Okay.